What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 4, episode 11. The episode is titled Unfinished Business, and let's go ahead and get into it because honestly, after watching this episode, I don't trust not a one person on this show. Let's get into it. So, of course, we start off exactly where we left off last episode, and that was with AJ telling Kyra that, I made my decision, you're not ready to love, wait, I still want to hold your hand, so I guess I'm making a different decision, and I want to keep you around and drop Alexis. That's pretty much what happened. Of course, Kyra is still stuck on the fact that she just found out that Jason did not choose her. And she's also stuck on the fact that she wanted to be the one who makes the best decision for herself. In her mind, she has it to where if this is going to be the person I'm going to be with, I'm searching for like a husband, I need to make the best decision for Kyra. Therefore, Kyra needs more time. Unfortunately, I don't even think your husband is here, girlfriend. But let's just go ahead and move on. So we actually see AJ meet up with Alexis, right? So we already know he's about to tell her, baby girl, you're not ready to love. So when he starts the conversation, he's like, I've always been open and honest with you, so I want to make sure I keep that same energy, basically. And I'm just like, sir, you have ghosted Alexis, you have minimized her feelings, and you have also not been interested in her. Get out my face with this. So after he says this, Alexis is over here talking about I'm about to cry. I'm like, well, girl, get your tears ready because he's about to send you home. So he ends up letting her know, unfortunately, Alexis, you already knew somebody was going to have to go home, and it is going to be you. You're not ready to love. So we get her in her confessional talking about I chose him. Ma'am, no, you did not. I'm sorry, but I think that this show is so full of it when it comes to who chose who. When I think of couples that chose each other, I can probably say Vernicia and Joelle, they chose each other. Even Amber and KG. But Alexis, you did not choose AJ because you and Ron were not a match and Ron went home. That's when you tried to focus all your energy on AJ talking about you chose him. You had no other option because Ron went home. So the fact that she sat up here crying about how, because I chose you and all this stuff, I'm like, Alexis, cut it out. Because if it was up to you and Ron was not an atheist or agnostic, whatever he is, you would still be running up under Ron had you not sent him home. You wouldn't even be thinking about AJ like this. So cut it out. And then the audacity of AJ talking about if you would have known how extremely difficult this decision was and this experience has been. Sir, how was it difficult for you? You have had to put in no effort at all this entire season. The entire season, you have put in no effort, especially not towards Alexis. You only took her on group dates. You never tried to, spend quality time with her, especially while y'all have been on this ranch. Stop playing. Stop playing with us in our face like this because we don't want to play this game with you. You never liked Alexis. You kept her in your back pocket because you knew, hey, if things went south with Kyra, I gotta have a backup plan. Also, another thing that AJ said that kind of threw me off was the fact that he was like, oh yeah, don't be a stranger. Ma'am, I'm sorry, not ma'am, sir. If you're moving forward with Kyra, why are you telling Alexis, oh hey, don't be a stranger? Get out of my face with this. And then for Alexis to go on her soapbox and give a whole little sermon about how God is going to send the perfect man for her once she get her life right. Girl, okay, good for you. Now let's go ahead and move on. So we next get the ladies meeting up at the ladies' lounge or whatever they want to call it. They are no longer at Tommy's house. I find that to be interesting. Maybe the place had booked out and they couldn't secure it for the scene last time when the ladies were in control. But let's just go ahead and talk about how all the ladies walk in, and when Kyra walks in, Liz is like so confused because for some reason in her mind, she's like, oh, I thought that AJ had a strong connection with Alexis. I don't even know where she got that idea from, because while you were at the ranch, girl, did you even see him talk to her? Because I know we for sure didn't. Oh wait, I forgot that Alexis and her, they were having a conversation, and Alexis was really bigging up their relationship, bigger than what it was. So basically, Tommy tells the ladies that, hey, I'm sending you guys on your last one-on-one dates, so that way, you can be secure in making your decision for the following week when they have to say, I'm ready to choose you. So after Tommy ends up leaving, the ladies continue to talk, and Kyra has to let them know, like, hey, this is what happened when me and AJ met up. At first, he was going to send me home, but he ended up not sending me home. Okay, so throughout this conversation, though, I think Amber is the one who asked her, like, oh, so what are you deciding? Like, are you still choosing between AJ and Jason? And Kyra is like, well, I do have this connection with AJ, but my feelings for Jason, they did not just stop, once I found out that he chose Liz. So she then goes on to tell them about how their conversation at the ranch did not end with him basically saying, okay, Kyra, you didn't make a choice, so I'm going to further pursue Liz. Jason has never made the choice that he was going to pursue Liz and told Kyra that at all. So the fact that she's even finding out that he chose Liz from AJ, yeah, you can already tell that rubbed her the wrong way. So now that Liz has gotten wind of the fact that Kyra is saying that Jason made it seem like, there was still a chance for her, Liz is like, well, why are you trying to make it seem like I'm the second pick? When in all honesty, that is how it was presented to Kyra. And that is how it has been continued to be presented to Kyra, even in this episode. Because to me, every time he asked Kyra, what do you want? If Kyra was to say, Jason, I want you, then Liz, you probably would be second pick, because it sounds like he's going to go with Kyra. That's why he keeps asking her, what do you want? Also, I think the difference in this, again, is the same thing with Alexis. Liz, you had no other options at that point. For example, when you were messing around or talking to David or whatever, you were all about David. You wore that dress and you pressed your hair out. And ever since then, Jason has been falling for you, supposedly. Okay, cool. Let's run with that story. But once you sent David home, you were all in with Jason. So therefore, you had no other options. Like, it's crazy to me how everybody feels some type of way because Kyra has options. Now, when it comes to Jason making a decision, he always made it seem like, to me at least, because he has been pursuing Kyra since day one, she was number one. I feel like he honestly only started to really pursue Liz once David was completely out of the picture, because she had no other distractions. So let's just go ahead and move along, because we're going to talk about this first date that happened, which was Vernicia and Joelle. So Joelle ends up coming over to her house, and she cooks food for him, and they basically have the same conversation that they have been having since the last episode. And it is how they can overcome all these obstacles and all this stuff. And I'm just like, y'all didn't really overcome anything, to be honest with you. But I'm going to let y'all ride this out. Like, y'all had a little disagreement where if he would have apologized within the first bit of the conversation, y'all would have been right on the good foot instead of y'all stretching it out all day, and we could have been done. Like, it's funny to me how they keep talking about how, we can overcome all this stuff, but we don't really see them talk about anything that's like meaningful. Like, oh, do you want more children? Oh, how long do you think you would want to wait until marriage? Like, did you want like a long engagement? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? We don't really see that with this couple. Also, I think it's interesting that they keep bringing up the conversation of, oh, well, you chose me and I chose you. It's like, yeah, we've already established that. Like, Vernicia, you chose him since day one. Joelle, you sort of kind of chose her because I feel like he went on other dates while she probably didn't. Because we've only seen her go on that one date with Dietrich. All right, now let's just go ahead and move on along and let's talk about Liz and Jason and this date. Okay, so this is where things start to get a little bit tricky because Liz ends up asking Jason about if Kyra was to have told him at the ranch that she chose him, would they be where they are right now? And he tells her, yes, I would have still been with you because my mind was made up weeks ago. Weeks ago, was it? Then why were you sitting up there entertaining Kyra if your mind was made up weeks ago? Oh my bad, because you're lying. You are a liar, Jason. Because Jason ends up explaining how he needed to know basically where Kyra stood and in what direction was she trying to move. If you already made your decision up weeks ago, you don't need to know who she chooses or even care about who she chooses because you're moving on. Because at that point, you should have told Kyra, you know what? Since you can't make up a decision, I'm going to make the decision and say I am no longer pursuing you, and I think you should go ahead along and make well with your other connection. Go be with AJ because I'm going to go ahead and move forward with Liz. But that's not what you told her, Jason. Especially at the fact that he talking about it don't take that long to make your mind up. Sir, then why were you asking her, well, who do you want to be with? Who do you choose? How are you trying to move forward? Tell me where you at. Why are you asking her all these questions? Like I said, you should have been man enough to say, you know what? I'm not about to play these games with you because clearly you think that Kyra was playing games. And you should have just gone ahead and told her that you chose Liz. But honestly, I don't even think Kyra was playing games. I just feel like she was still trying to fill out both of these dudes to see which one is probably more trifling. And that's the one she didn't want to go with. So next thing you know, he steps away from the table, right? Jason goes to go get this one single white rose. You have Liz. She is so excited and hype as if he proposed to her. But he goes on about this speech about how he's only given two women a single white rose, and that was his mom and his stepmom, and how, Liz represents purity and all these great things about Liz. And I mean, he's bigging her up, and Liz is eating this up. They ended up hugging, and it was just a really sweet moment, I guess. It was cute or whatever, but I still can't get over how Jason is sitting in this lady face lying. Also, I find it weird that he gave this speech with this rose on this episode, considering they haven't done the last episode. Usually on the last episode of Ready to Love, there's always someone bringing flowers or a rose to whoever it is that they're choosing, and then they say a speech about how they're ready to love. I don't know why Jason went on ahead and got a head start. So let's just go ahead and move forward to the other couple who's trying to play in our face right about now. And that is going to be Chris and Amber. So they're basically talking, having this conversation about how, Ron meant nothing and she's solely focused on Chris. And how every time they meet up, their connection grows stronger. He over here trying to have a little sentimental moment talking about you don't know how much that means to me. It's as if he's about to cry, but not really. So after they do all of that, he's like, yeah, I'm ready to have a baby, 1 or 3. Oh, do you want to have kids? Did I ever ask you that? Now, y'all, we watching the same show, right? When her friend asked, hey, do y'all want to have kids or whatever? And Chris said, yeah, I want 5. She went along with it and was like, yeah, that sounds good to me. So I'm not understanding how we're pretending like y'all never ever spoke about children at all. Because her response was like, yeah, I like kids. I will be happy with one child. And, I want to be married first. This again goes against things that have been talked about previously. Because when Chris told you, he's not the type to get married, you said, yeah, I don't have to be married either. Then on top of that, when it comes to this whole, oh yeah, one kid is fine for me, baby girl, you're the same person who said, I want to be a mother first. Like, being married, being a wife, that don't really matter. I just want to be sure that I'm a mother first. So you've lied. You said, I want to be married. You said that you want to have one child, when previously you have told him that, yeah, I will have 3 to 5 kids with you. We don't have to be married. Like, girl, you were just saying things to make it to the end. Like I said from the beginning, she was just going along to get along when it came to Chris. And then this is where the conversation took a turn for me, because when she said, oh yeah, I would have to be married first to have this child, he says, we don't have to be married because I'm not even having sex. Well, what is this whole conversation about at this point? Because she doesn't want to have a kid before she's married. You don't want to be married. Okay, that means this relationship is over. Then on top of that, you're not having sex right now. You never told her that you were celibate. I mean, at least with Liz, she led with it, and we knew from the beginning. Chris, why did you wait all the way to the end to tell this girl, oh yeah, I'm celibate? But also, celibate until when? Because you don't want to be married. So please make it make sense. Oh wait, my bad. He's doing semen retention. Whatever that is, I've never heard of that in my life. I don't understand it. Especially the fact that he was like, yeah, because, once we really do basically get it popping, I'm so backed up. It's going to be trillions of swimmers. I said, nope, and more nope. Sir, go away from me with all of this, because I don't want to hear about your swimmers. I don't want to hear anything more about this situation. In my mind, Amber and Chris are not a match, because both of them have lied in some type of way about how they want this relationship to go. She went along to get along because she was just agreeing to stuff in the beginning, and now for her to be like, well, I only want one child, I have to be married, that's not what you told him in the beginning. Chris, you never even told her that you were celibate, so I'm not even understanding how y'all can move forward in a relationship. Now let's just go ahead and move on. Oh wait, actually, before I move on, we have Amber talking about she's basically going to try to convince him to have sex with her. I said, yeah girl, good luck. I'm pretty sure it won't take long. Let's go ahead and move forward. So the next couple that we see is AJ and Kyra. They meet up to have lunch, and it's interesting because at one point in the conversation, she's like, where do we stand now? And he's like, if you have to ask that, like, I don't know if we should be, together, or at least that's kind of what it summed up to be. Like, why would you even ask me, where do we stand? I chose you. You agreed to, be with me. So what do you mean, where do we stand? Like, we stand together. We are moving forward as a possible couple. So within this conversation that they had, I feel like nothing much was really said, but the fact that AJ is glad that he did make the decision to choose Kyra because he basically would have regretted it. And Kyra, on the other hand, she is happy that she's still around. She's okay with the fact that she's with AJ, but Jason is still on her mind because her problem, honestly, is the fact that the way she found out about him choosing Liz, it should have came from him. And also, she feels like he was playing games. So now she's aiming to get clarity out of Jason. And I'm like, girl, you are not going to get that, but okay. So the ladies end up meeting back up with Tommy again, and they're basically talking about these dates that they've had, right? So first we get to Amber. She over here talking about how, KG cried and all this stuff. And then she brings up him and his semen retention. And I'm just like, I don't understand why you're telling the group this about him and his celibacy choice. Like, how is that a topic? You should have kept that to yourself. I find that interesting that you're willing to bring this up, but you weren't going to bring up the fact that you kissed Ron. Okay, girl. Full of crap. Then we hop on over to Vernicia. Of course, she's talking about how her and Joelle can overcome any obstacle. Alright, girl. Heard it all before. Then we see Liz. She talking about how she's on cloud nine and how, she is just head over heels for Jason at this point. So Liz goes on to say, Jason told me that he had made his decision weeks ago about who he wanted to be with. Now you have Kyra over there chuckling in the corner. And when Tommy shushed her with the hand motion, I fell out. But I do think that it was very rude of Kyra to do. But also, sometimes things like that happen and you do kind of chuckle out loud. It's not like you're purposely trying to do it. It's just that, like, I know you lying. You gonna sit up here and tell me that this man had his mind made up weeks ago, but he was just chasing me around at the ranch and taking me out on dates so that he can ask me where my mind is at and who I choose? Okay, girl, but his mind was made up weeks ago. So Liz goes on and she talks about the rose and how he said she was pure and all this stuff. He saw her heart. And I'm like, okay, great. This is beautiful. All the ladies are in all about this except for Kyra, because we get to Kyra in her confessional and she's like, all the things that Liz said, it's pretty much comical to me because that is not the Jason that I know. Now, I will say this, different women bring out different things in a man. However, I will say that when Kyra talks about how, the things that Jason was texting her and sending her, clearly there was some sexual conversations that were happening. And if we take this back to not the guy who Jason pretends to be, but the only reason why he even looked at Liz was because she had her boobs out, she was showing off body yada yada. And every time that Liz is with him, she's low-key showing off body yada yada, and that's what keeps him interested. I feel like Jason, he is definitely not gonna go ahead and do this whole celibacy thing with her. I feel like, honestly, either they're gonna have sex and that's just gonna be what it is, or they're gonna rush to get married just so that they can go ahead and sleep together. I'm just saying, I'm calling it like I see it, just considering who Jason has portrayed himself to be, because I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. So then Kyra goes on to say, I laughed, but I wasn't trying to be offensive. It's just that the things that you're saying is not exactly lining up with the guy that I was talking to. Because now it seems like Jason is making it seem like she's the one who was playing games, but the way he's talking to Liz is very different than the things that he was telling Kyra. So it sounds like, Jason, you were playing games as well if Kyra was playing. Now, I will say, as the conversation got deeper and deeper, because Kyra was definitely effectively communicating how she felt in that moment, and Liz was still over there trying to take up for Jason. Because at one point Liz threw out the fact that Jason felt like his conversations with Kyra were disingenuous, and Kyra was like, listen, if your mind was already made up, there's no way you should have been pressing me about who I needed to choose. And she's absolutely right. The fact that she even brought up how Liz's other choice had already left. She only had Jason as a choice. Then why are you sitting up here pressing me to make a decision that I wasn't trying to make just because you wanted me to? And I said, well, she has a point there. Even Tommy knew that Kyra definitely had a very strong point, and he supported her idea of meeting up with Jason to get some clarity. So after Tommy ends up leaving, right? The ladies are going to keep on talking, of course. And you have Amber, I don't know why it is that Amber is always one who's asking all the questions now, but she's asking Kyra, like, so why did you even go along with AJ? Do you actually really like AJ? I don't know if her answer got chopped up or what, because first she kind of started talking about AJ, and then it jumped to how Jason was playing games. And then we have Kyra in her confessional, like, I don't like the fact that Kyra, she is, attacking Jason's character. And I'm just like, I don't think that she's attacking Jason's character. I think that she's expressing herself as to the guy that she experienced. Right now, honestly, Liz and Kyra have experienced two different versions of Jason. Like, let's be honest here. When he's with Liz, he's one way. When he's with Kyra, he's a different way. Alright, so we finally get to this meetup between Jason and Kyra. First things first, I feel like Jason was not expecting for Kyra to even want to meet up with him. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that he thought that Kyra got sent home. I would not be surprised if he thought that. I think that he thought, okay, if I choose lose, AJ may go home with Alexis, and then I don't have to deal with Kyra at all. Me not even telling her about me choosing Liz, it is what it is, because that's the process. However, the fact that Kyra is still there, and then he had to explain himself to Liz about how, his mind was already made up. He had to come up with that on the fly because he thought that he was not going to have to answer any type of questions about Kyra because him and Liz would be moving forward. So now that she wants to meet up, his whole attitude and demeanor bothered me this entire scene, because every time that he tried to speak with her, he kept telling her, hey queen, listen queen, but queen this. He kept queening her, and I found it to be super disrespectful, because I'm just like, you're doing that in a nice nasty way, and I don't like it. So basically, Kyra starts off by saying, we met up at the ladies' lounge, and Kyra let me know that you said that you made your decision weeks ago. If that was the case, why didn't you tell me this weeks ago? Because that is not the message that I got. So he starts off talking about honestly, there was just so much said. And honestly, queen, I can't remember. I said, see, here we go with this queen stuff. And then the fact that he told me something he can't remember. I'm like, you can't remember what? You can't remember why you didn't tell Kyra that you were moving on with Liz? Or the fact that you told Liz this and it wasn't true? So he ends up apologizing, though, about the fact that he lied and told Liz that he made his mind up weeks ago because he knew that it was not true. And I'm just like, so you still have Liz thinking that she has been your number one for weeks when that's all a lie. Do we not see the problem in this? So then we go back to the talk about what happened at the tennis court and how he needed clarity and how he still doesn't know where she's at. What do you mean you still don't know? Those words should have never come out of your mouth. You don't need to know where she's at, regardless if she want to be with you or not. You said, I chose Liz. So therefore, those words should not have come out of your mouth. What you should have said was, after our date at the tennis court, we had our conversation. It seems like you were still deciding, but I had to make a decision for myself and I went on to be with Liz. That's what you should have said. So at this point, this is when he tries to flip things on Kyra, because he's like, I feel like the last couple of times that we've gotten together, there's always all these questions that you're asking. I mean, I don't want to say interrogating, but it's kind of like that. And you just can't seem to be in the moment, all this stuff. It's like, first of all, you're on a dating show. Secondly, you guys are getting to know each other. So for her own security, she's going to ask you a lot of questions because she don't know you like that. Hell, I think honestly more people need to ask questions instead of being in the moment, trying to catch a vibe. Because let me tell you something, those times that you didn't ask those questions, those situations come up in the future and then you be looking stupid. So I also feel like the only reason why he even used the word interrogating was the fact that she is an attorney and he's trying to use that against her. So then you have Jason saying, well, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is this right now? Like, I'm trying to figure out what's the direction of this whole thing right now. And she's like, oh, this conversation. Like, I find it so funny that you just talked about at the ranch how you needed clarity. And the fact that she reached out to you to get clarity on the things that you have said. Oh, now you don't understand what's going on because you're in the hot seat. Bye, Jason. Like, he literally started to list things like, well, this isn't a date and this isn't me trying to pursue you. Like, it's not even clarification. No, sweetheart. This was not clarification for you. This is clarification for her. And that's where you're getting this all twisted. Like, one thing that I've noticed throughout this conversation between Jason and Kyra is that Jason, he is not trying to take any accountability in this conversation. At this point, everything is Kyra's fault as to why they ended up where they are. And I'm like, okay, cool. She never decided to choose you, but you also never chose her. You never directly said, Kyra, listen, I'm choosing you. I need for you to say that you're choosing me as well. Those type of words never came out of your mouth. So let's not act like she was the only problem in this situation. So at one point, she's trying to bring up some other point that it basically supports what she's been saying, and Jason shuts her down. He's like, no, we're not about to go there. That's not what we're about to do. So then he asks her, what do you want? What do you want? And I'm like, why are you continuing this conversation? If you just shut her down about her questioning you, why are you asking her a question about what does she want? So she ends up saying, if I would have chosen you that day, would the outcome be different? And he says no. I think that's a lie. I think that if Kyra was to say, Jason, I choose you, Liz would have been sent home. And honestly, the fact that he's sitting up here telling her, well, I would have still chose Liz, then what was the point of the conversation at the ranch? Like, I'm so mad at the fact that Jason is sitting up here basically putting it all on Kyra and how she needed to make a decision when he had a decision to make as well. And he could have easily at any point stopped pursuing Kyra so that way he could focus on Liz. Now, it was weird at the end of this conversation because Kyra was like, well, based on all these things thus far, I think that we should stay friends. I'm like, girl, why did you say that? Because unless something else was said, I don't know why she said that we should remain friends. Like, he already chose Liz and is moving on. Were y'all going to be enemies or something? Like, what was happening there? So we finally get to this little final scene of everybody meeting up. I mean, everybody, they look nice or whatever. I will say that AJ and Kyra, they look really good together. Just a random thought out there. But so they all are meeting up so that Tommy can let them know that they are basically at the end of this process. However, there is still one challenge that has to be tackled, and that is they're meeting each other's families. And I'm just like, I was wondering when that was going to happen, because usually that happens, somewhere around episode 7 or 8 or something like that. But that is basically what is left to come, because they're going to meet each other's families, and then they're going to have that whole little give the person a rose or flower and be like, I choose to be ready to love you, or whatever they say. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I do know that a lot of people do not like Kyra any longer. They don't see it for her. I have seen that a lot of people are Team Liz in this situation. And honestly, I just feel like both of the ladies got played in some sort of way when it comes to Jason. Let me know what you guys think, though. Seriously, I want to know what you guys think about each couple. Do you think that they will last? to the reunion and who probably will last after the reunion. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel though. But I'll talk to you guys later. Bye guys.